Today, one of the major challenges African SMEs face is access to funding. We have Precious Ehihamen, the Acting Managing Director of Moneda Technologies, speak to us about how the most recent product developed by Moneda Technologies can help mitigate this challenge. Precious.
Hi, Joe.
It's nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
All right.
My first question for you is, why do you think it's so difficult for SMEs in Africa's critical value chain to get access to funding?
For me, I think it's a matter of perception, to be honest, and it's a perception of risk. When people see an SME, particularly traditional finance, banks and whatnot, when they see an SME, they see a big walking red flag. They see someone that gets his hand in the mud, gets dirty. Perhaps their board is made up of father, son, and his brother, and they just assume that because of this, they can't give this person funding and get returns. So it's just a perception of risk. And even those that are able to get to the door, when they get to the door, they are asked to provide collateral, that is of the value of the amount that they are looking to access. Perhaps a house in Banana Island or Camps Bay in Cape Town. But we're talking about SMEs here. So they obviously don't have a house in Banana Island or Camps Bay. So at the end of the day, what we see is that they do not get access to funding from these traditional institutions. We surveyed over 300 SMEs in Nigeria and Namibia, and about 40% of them have told us that they've had to abandon projects because they could not access funding to execute them. And that's just what has led us here today, just a perception of risk. And it just boils down to the fact that we've been using processes that just don't work for these SMEs to assess them. And so we think they are way riskier than they actually are.
Musa was launched to solve these challenges. Can you tell us what makes Musa different from the usual financing options SMEs are used to?
When Musa sees an SME, Musa sees a working opportunity, not a red flag. We see an opportunity for growth, and that's why we're open to taking a chance on them, because we believe that there are two major things that an SME basically needs to access finance. So you just need to answer two questions. Number one, is that project, can they execute that project successfully? And number two, is that project profitable? So once you can answer those two questions, we believe your project should be fundable. And that is one angle that traditional finance do not usually see. So what we have done is, through our surveys with these SMEs and our conversations with people on the streets, we've been able to curate a bespoke risk rating algorithm that answers these two questions. Can that project be completed successfully? If yes, then you probably should be funded. Is that project profitable? If yes, then that project should be funded. So what we have done is to leverage technology to build that risk rating algorithm that implements exactly what these SMEs need and not just what we think they want.
Fantastic. Time is often a big issue for SMEs. How does Musa make accessing funding faster compared to traditional banks?
So what Musa does is, obviously leveraging technology, you can automate lots of processes that makes things, a lot faster. You obviously don't have to go to CAC to confirm that the business is registered when there are APIs that you can integrate with. So it's just partnership and technology. At the end of the day, there are technological tools that you can use to verify credit history. There are technological tools that you can use, we call them open banking APIs that can give you oversight of inflows and outflows from a contract account. So basically securing your funds, the funds that you have deployed into the project. So using all of these tools to just basically automate most of the processes, we're able to fast track things. And what we say, for example, due diligence, our KYC process takes less than a day to complete. It's just a form that has 3 steps, less than 10 questions. You just need to answer those questions, provide your company documents, and in an instance, we're able to verify that this business exists, and we're able to run background checks in an instant again, and we're able to make a decision. Okay, this is a contractor or an SME that we want to work with, and we're able to make decisions quicker. Same thing boils down to our risk rating algorithm that I mentioned previously. Basically, when you just submit a transaction request in 1 second, we're able to assess if that transaction is fundable, like I said previously, answering those two major questions. And in 1 second, we're able to say, yes, we're funding this, no, we're not funding this. And things are able to move a lot faster, so we don't waste anybody's time. If we know this thing is not something that should be invested in, we're able to even advise the customer. This is something we even just do for free. You get, so there is, if you are rejecting a transaction, you're able to tell the customer this is perhaps an area that's an area of improvement that could make this transaction fundable, and we're able to proceed. So just leveraging these tools here and there, we're able to fast track a lot of the processes, and we're able to move things faster, because we understand for critical SMEs, time is of the essence. If you have contracts in oil and gas, for example, a 1 day delay can limit 1,000 barrels per day of production. That's me being conservative, and at $70-80 per barrel, that's what, $90,000-80,000 $80,000 per day that you are losing because of 1 day delay. So it's very expensive to delay for these SMEs, and we understand this. That's why we've deployed these tools to ensure that we're able to move as fast as they need. Okay.
You mentioned that Musa doesn't require collateral for funding. Why is this important, and how does it benefit SMEs?
It's very important. When I mentioned the problem, I mentioned the fact that traditional finance requires SMEs to provide, collateral as a house in Banana Island, like I said, or Camps Bay. And we mentioned it earlier that how many of these SMEs have a house in Camps Bay? I don't have a house in Camps Bay.
Maybe I do.
But so how do we expect SMEs to have a house in Camps Bay? So it's important for access to finance for us to remove that limitation. And in the off chance that there is an SME somewhere that has a house in Camps Bay that can, provide collateral for a project, using that house as a collateral for one project already puts that house, it makes that house encumbered, and you can't use that house to get another loan. So basically, you have to wait until you complete that project before you get on the next one. So basically, your growth is limited by the number of houses in Camps Bay you have. So if you need 2-3 projects, you need to have 2-3 houses in Camps Bay, and obviously you get the scaling is virtually impossible. So what removing that collateral can do for Musa, or has been doing, is removing limits to growth for our SMEs, so our SMEs can now scale their business seamlessly.
Okay. Musa also offers execution support, not just funding.
Right.
What does this mean for SMEs that work with you?
Going back to my 2-point agenda for SMEs, the first one is, can this project be successfully executed? That's actually very, very important, because no matter how profitable a business is, a project or a transaction is, if it's not completed successfully, you get nothing at the end of the day. Yeah. So where we go into these transactions or projects with the SMEs, because we understand that fact that the success of that project is very, very paramount to monies coming back and the transaction itself being profitable. So it's very important to ensure that the project is successfully executed, and that's why we added that as part of our service offerings, providing execution support to them. And in one word, I'm just going to say that just ensures efficiency, so they are able to efficiently execute that project. We've also mentioned time. Time is of the essence for these SMEs. So if we're able to support their execution in such a way that projects are able to move quicker, we're able to leverage our network, our expertise in this industry, or across many industries, in different natural resource value chains, we're able to leverage our expertise, deploy it into that project where the SME doesn't even have, in the off chance that they don't even have capacity to execute, we can, and we can just step in and ensure that they are able to. And Musa itself also has some modules that supports this execution capacity. So we have like Gantt charts that are able to track transactions or projects from the beginning to the end. So it not only provides transparency because everybody can see how it goes, but it helps the SMEs themselves to be able to track their transactions, see that, okay, first thing we're supposed to do is mobilization, for example. So if you're supposed to mobilize and you expect that mobilization should take 2 days, and then at the end of the transaction, you find that it takes 5 days, you have a working document that you can use to inform decisions in later transactions to know that typically mobilization takes 5 days, not 2 days. So you're able to improve your processes as you go, and that also helps you grow. So these are some of the things that we've put in Musa that we were quite excited about.
Okay. Looking ahead, what are Moneda Technologies' plans for Musa, and how do you see transforming Africa's business landscape?
Again, just going to say in one word, it's payments. So very soon we're deploying a new module in Musa where Musa will be able to handle all of its payments. Not just that, we'll be able to provide our SMEs the platform to execute cross-border payments. And what we'll find that this will do is it will plug these SMEs into global markets. So right now they are limited by how much they can, they're limited by where they can actually deploy funding to. For example, if you're looking to get products from, say, China, for example, how do you make payments to your suppliers? So if we have a one-stop shop, where a central place like Musa, where you not only have access to these suppliers, but you can also seamlessly make payments to these suppliers, and everything is just seamless. And it's not just transactions that are funded by Musa, for example. So it's also transactions if we have grown our SMEs to a point where they don't need Musa to access financing, they can handle it themselves. Musa can also still facilitate the processing of those payments for them to be able to pay their suppliers wherever they are in the world, China and South Africa, anywhere in the world.
That sounds really ambitious.
Yeah, it is, and we're excited about it. And coming soon.
Musa is coming.
Musa is coming.
Okay, so far you've talked about the advantages of Musa over traditional banks.
Right.
How Musa can transform Africa's business landscape, and the impacts Musa has had on African SMEs. What is your message to SMEs in Africa who are looking for a solution like Musa?
I'll say they should just take a leap of faith. They should just try and come on board Musa, because it was built for them. I've mentioned time and again that it was built based on user research from over 300 SMEs in different countries in Africa. So it was built for them, so they should take advantage of the opportunity that is in Musa and just come on board Musa. The URL is very simple: musa.monedainvest.app. Just come on board, do your KYC, and in one day you're on board. You can make transaction requests, you can access no limit financing without collateral, and no interest rates. You're only limited by how much you are willing to go out to get. You are not limited by circumstances or where you were born, or or how many houses you have in Camps Bay. Or I mentioned Camps Bay, but I do want to have a house there. But our SMEs need to be empowered to be able to also afford houses in Camps Bay when when they're able to do more transactions. And I'll just tell them, take a leap of faith and come on board Musa.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Precious.
It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, very interesting one. We have had Precious speak to us about the impact Musa has had on African SMEs and the impact it will still have on African SMEs. So if you're an SME in Africa, what are you waiting for? Take a leap of faith.